Hello! Today we are going to do a lesson on order of operations. I think I'm better over here. You are going to be learning what PEMDAS or PEDMASA is and how that affects the way you do problems. Today's essential question is going to be understand what order to solve problems. Understand what order to solve problems. So let's start here. So operations, what do you think that means? We say it all the time, and sometimes we don't stop and say, okay, that's your adding, you're subtracting, multiplying, dividing, you're squaring, and that might be still new to us. The squaring to the power of, we'll need to talk more about that. So first thing you have to do is you talk about what is happening inside parentheses. Anything happening inside the parentheses, you have to do that first. PEDMASA, PEMDAS, you have to do anything that's in parentheses first. So here you can see if you had done the 6 times 5, that would have been wrong. You have to do the 5 plus 3 first, then you can take 8 times 6, because if you didn't do it, you would have gotten 30 plus 3 is 33, and that's not the right answer. You have to do what's in the parentheses first. Powers. Here's an example that I was talking about when you're doing to the power of. If you do the power of 2, it's something called squaring. It means you were to take that number and write it as a square. So if you had something that was a 3 by 3 square, so if I look on the floor, I've got 3 tiles by 3 tiles. It's kind of like an array. 3 times 3 is 9. So if I was to do this operation, after you've done anything in parentheses, you move on to squaring of numbers, or it could be to the power of 3, to the power of 4. Whatever that tiny little exponent is our second step in PEMDAS. So if I had accidentally did 5 times 6 first, I would have gotten the wrong answer. Or sorry, that's if you did the squaring wrong. Because, ooh, it does not mean times 2. Do not think that 3 to the power of 2 means times 2. It never means times 2. That tells you how many times to multiply that number by itself. I'll say it again. That little number tells you how many times to multiply the number by itself. Multiply the number times itself, the amount of times that tiny number tells you. The tiny number tells you how many times to multiply the number times itself, not times that number. Excellent. I think I said that very thoroughly. Multiplying or dividing before you adding or subtracting. You guys experienced some of this as you were doing page 144. You were like, hey, I didn't get the same answer you did. And it was because you had to make sure you multiply or divide before you add or subtract. Here's an example where 5 times 3 would give you 15. You go back and add and get 17. Here's the wrong way. If I had just said, let's go ahead and just do 2 plus 5, that would have gotten me 7. 7 times 3 is 21. 21 is not the right answer because you have to multiply first before you can add or divide. Add or subtract. Yes. Multiply and divide before you add or subtract. Otherwise, you just move from left to right. So if multiplying and dividing, as you can see, they're on that same stair. So you would just go, here's what's on the left, moving my way to the right, because multiplying and dividing are like a brother and sister pair. They have to take turns. Whoever's on the left gets to go first. So it would be incorrect if you went ahead and decided, PEMDAS says parentheses, exponents, multiply, and then divide, so I always have to multiply first. Not true. That's why I said it can also be said PEDMASA, because you might divide first if you see division before you see multiplication. So here are the PEMDAS stairs that totally invented. You've got your parentheses, which is going to go on the top of the stair, meaning it's the most important thing here with our stairs. Parentheses is first. Then is our exponents, remembering that to the power of is not a number you multiply by. To the power of tells you how many times to multiply that number times itself. Times itself, not the tiny number. Okay. PEDMASA, remember, could be said either way. Oopsie, went backwards. You could have the division first. It totally happens. If you're just on this stair, sometimes you divide before you multiply. You do it in order from left to right, because multiplying and dividing are brother and sister. They have to share that stair. Same thing with adding and subtracting. You might add before you subtract, but you might subtract before you add, depending on what's on the left. The key is you should never add and subtract before you multiply and divide, because that is higher up on your stairs. So, what should you do first? I think I should start by looking in the parentheses. Oh no, there's lots of stuff happening inside the parentheses. What's next? Are there any parentheses inside the parentheses? Nah. Next step. Exponents to the power of 2. Does that mean times 2? No, it doesn't. That means that you're multiplying the number 5 times itself twice. So you're taking 5 times 5, which is 25, not 10. 10 would have gotten it wrong. Be careful. So we've got 10 in there, meaning that for our order of operations, the first thing we would do was inside the parentheses. And you've got, did I say you've got 10 in there? And that was totally the wrong answer. You've got 25 in there because 5 times 5 is 25. We're not adding. Okay, so that would get you 25. Next step, your multiplication, because you got to multiply before you can add or subtract. So we've got our exponents, remembering it could be multiplying first, but it could be dividing first. They're on the same stair, so you go from left to right in that. There's just multiplying, so duh, that one's next. After you've done that, you got 150 there. Let's now finish what's in the parentheses before we go outside the parentheses and do our addition. Remembering also subtracting might have come before adding if it was on the left side. So lastly, the answer to this problem would be, is it 160? Yes. Let's see. Oh wait, I didn't emphasize that whole L to R. L to R! You know what? Take a moment. Pause this video and draw this in your spiral. These stairs are important. Now this L to R is telling you for multiplying and dividing, you're going to go from left to right, whichever one's on the left. Same thing here. For adding and subtracting and adding, you're going L to R. You're going left to right. So over here, our final answer, 160. Beautiful. This is your first opportunity to do PIMDAS, so I hope it made sense to you. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. Oh, don't forget your Cornell notes. Come up with a few vocabulary words. I'm sure I said plenty of things. Thank you.